everyone. It's Karen Templeton, Director of Communications with the Office of the Provost, and I'm joined today by Catherine Crowe, who works within the Office of the Provost as Director of International Student and Scholar Services. She and her team have been very busy. They're always busy, but even more so during our pandemic situation. So your unit had to make some changes to be able to continue to provide supporting international students throughout this pandemic. I understand that we all have unique circumstances, but theirs are even more so. Can you tell me a little bit about how you've had to change things up and what you all have been doing?
Certainly, yeah. Starting March 16th, our staff began working exclusively remotely, but thankfully it was a fairly seamless and instant pivot. Since our robust website and online appointment scheduling capabilities allowed advising to continue practically uninterrupted. All of our forms have always been available to download online and submit electronically, and our advisors have continued to hold dozens, if not hundreds, of successful Zoom calls when needed to advise on specific situations. And the biggest change we've made has been managing document pickup and delivery, since many of our students, employees, and scholars need original paper government documents, often inked, signed. And some of those rules were not relaxed during the pandemic in the federal rules. So now, luckily, student documents can be largely delivered with e-signatures. And I'd really like to thank our fabulous campus partners for their assistance over the past few months, including the I-9 teams in the HR records office and with HSF, the financial affairs team for continuing to issue our paper checks required for immigration filings, and Alicia Jones, Jason Daniel, and Raul Tadani and their teams for being so flexible and available to meet us for necessary signatures. Due to the blistering pace of immigration changes over the past 3 to 4 months and the heavy volume of international student and employee document needs and questions, plus the fact that we can't upload anything electronically to the Department of Homeland Security, everything's got to be mailed in duplicate hard copy. About half of our staff has been rotating into the office on a staggered basis since mid-April to keep up with our essential immigration and compliance functions.
That is a lot, and obviously the needs of international students have changed with the pandemic. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Definitely. I would say there is a desperate need for closure, routine, and predictability across all segments of our international population, students, scholars, and employees. Our students often face the most acute financial strains when immigration regulations change suddenly, since there are so many regulations surrounding their ability to work while being full-time students. But thankfully, resources like UAB's Blazer Kitchen, the Office of Off-Campus Housing, and our many active and involved international student groups have come together to address as many of these needs as possible. It's been an absolute whirlwind for all individuals on a visa in the US this summer. Just to recap a few of the events in order: global pandemic, closure of US embassies and consulates overseas, no visa appointments available to enter the US, presidential proclamations suspending the issuance of visas even if you manage to get an appointment, families separated when one spouse is stuck in Europe and can't fly home back to the US due to the travel ban, the suspension of premium processing options for urgent work authorization for incoming residents, fellows, and clinical faculty and researchers, threats of furloughing USCIS workers in early August, which will further increase processing times for work authorization, the closure of the US-Canada-Mexico land border, and published regulatory agendas targeting OPT and STEM OPT work authorization for students and H-4 spouse work authorization for employees. So when you look at all of these changes and future changes in the aggregate, I mean, it is a lot for our international community to handle on a daily basis when practically every day another change is coming.
Well, and I'm glad you mentioned all of that, because we have to remember it isn't just students that you all are working with. It's employees, it's faculty, visiting scholars, so many audiences on campus that you are working with. And speaking of things that just kind of keep coming up, just this past week, we heard from SEVP, which is, I hope I get the acronym correct, Student and Exchange Visitors Program, had some changes that were quite stressful for our international community. Very proud to see you all rise to the challenge super quickly. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Definitely. Yes, it's the Student and Exchange Visitor Program, which is an agency under ICE, which of course is part of the Department of Homeland Security. And SEVP is the unit responsible specifically for a database where all of the international students on F1 visas are registered. It's not like registering for classes, but it's registering with the government saying, you know, this person's in the United States taking classes for the next semester, and that sort of thing. So last Monday, SEVP issued guidance for fall 2020, and several US institutions have sued to block it. We're waiting for this Wednesday's decision from a federal judge in Boston about whether, where, and how last Monday's guidance can be applied. As it currently stands, the guidance requires all higher education institutions to report their fall 2020 operational plans to SEVP for review, and requires the schools to issue a revised Form I-20 immigration document to every student who plans to be physically present in the US for fall 2020 classes. That revised immigration document form requires school officials known as DSOs, designated school officials, who are authorized to have access to that government database I mentioned, to sign under penalty of perjury that a student is not taking exclusively online classes and that they are taking the minimum number of non-face-to-face classes necessary to make progress toward their degree. The guidance allows students attending schools with a hybrid operational plan to take more than one non-face-to-face class, which essentially continues the rules that were relaxed for spring and summer. However, it does also state that if an institution reverts to exclusively online instructional plan for fall due to spikes in the virus or other, unforeseen events, then students on F1 visas must plan to either leave the US or to transfer to an institution that is retaining those face-to-face or in-person options. So there was a lot of gray area. While it seems extremely clear, there's a lot of gray area around the definitions of hybrid and online in the eyes of SEVP versus the definitions of hybrid and online for US educational institutions. So SEVP has already issued its first set of updated FAQs trying to clarify last Monday's guidance. I fully expect another set of those this week, and especially after the judge rules on the injunction that's pending up in Massachusetts.
So that understandably has been stressful for our international community. You all have provided excellent support, and there was an email that went out to all of campus on Friday from you and David Hoffman, the executive director of Into UAB, and of course, Dr. Pam Benoit, our provost. There are FAQs up on your website that I will share in the body of this email that's going out. But what can we do to help you amplify the messages and provide support to the international community? Because we all know, we work at UAB, we know our international community is really, it's part of the heart of our campus, and it's part of what we do is we're an international community together. So we'd love to know what we can do to help you all.
No, that is a perfect description of how we view it. I mean, our international community is integral to the life-changing studies and research and patient care this institution provides on a daily basis, and we couldn't do it without them. The message from the provost office on Friday was much appreciated, and our international community needs messages of encouragement and care at both the institutional and personal levels. If you know someone in your department who may be experiencing stress or difficulties due to the current environment or the recent guidance, a personal email or text of support can mean a lot. As you mentioned, we do have our FAQs page up on our website. We have received great outreach from specific units across campus, including athletics, computer science, graduate biomedical sciences. In addition to the grad school itself, our Graduate Student Government Association, into UAB, and other vital campus partners as we try to work together to support each other during this time. And our international community just needs our patience and understanding as they navigate unprecedented uncertainty. And as our staff works hard every day to provide the most timely, accurate, and conclusive information possible. But unfortunately, very few things are certain right now. And there will not be concrete answers to many questions until closer to the beginning of the semester. As the changes unfold, ISSS communicates immediately via blast emails to our international community from within our data system, our weekly Globetrotter e-newsletters that go to each individual international community, students, scholars, and employees with tailored information relevant to each community, and our Facebook and Instagram pages, and our weekly coffee hour, where we had 175 students on our coffee hour on Zoom Friday, asking great questions and really eager to find out more about institutional plans. There's what is ideal, and there's what is possible. And we work every day to try to achieve an ideal result for each individual member of our international community. But given the nature and the pace of these recent changes, expectations around arrival and start dates specifically, both for employees and visiting researchers looking to arrive by a certain date to start their work, and for our students looking to arrive in time to get squared away to start the fall semester. Those expectations may need to be adjusted, since there's really nothing approaching a date certain for anything at this point. But we are 100% committed to making everything that is possible for fall 2020 and beyond. We just might not know what's possible until as soon as the day before.
That is kind of the way the year has been going, but UAB has been doing an incredible job. ISSS, I know you all have been really working hard, and what you all are doing is appreciated, because like we both just said, international students and community faculty employees are integral to our community. So thank you for everything you're doing. I encourage everyone to look at the FAQs and find ways that they can support our international community. And thanks for joining.
Thank you, Karen. This was a great opportunity.